With every breath in, you are attracting and allowing attraction. With every exhalation, you are letting go of that which is not yours. And with every breath out, you feel the enlightenment and the weight lifting, and you become light as light itself. Free to be who you choose to be, to take in what you prefer to take in, and let out what is not you.
Welcome back. This is Dark City Radio. I'm commonly known as Dom. We've got the amazing Santos Bonacci on tonight, and I may as well roll straight into it. We've just had our show with Kevin Annett, who's been exposing all kinds of crimes going on within the Vatican, and that will lead nicely on to the first bit of the subject I want to touch on with Santos, the connection with the Vatican, the Church, sacred geometry, and astrotheology. But before we get into that first subject, would you like to introduce yourself? Welcome to the show, and it's a pleasure talking to you, Santos.
Thanks, Dom. Thank you very much, brother. Yeah, look, I'm just a researcher down under. I have devoted many years. I know that I did start in 81 on this path of studying with Immanuel Velikovsky, Reen Norbergen, Alexander Hislop, all of these great researchers. Some of them very like Alexander Hislop wrote a book called The Two Babylons. Great book if you want to learn mythology and everything, but it's very literal, and he did still believe in the literal rendition of these marvelous legendary mythological books that we have, which I have shown are just pure science. So, but that's where I started, and it wasn't a career calling back then, because I had other things. I've got music and languages and other things that I love, that I've devoted my life to. I've devoted a lot of time to languages. I love etymology, philology, anthropology. So I want to know, when I see a word, and I know you're the same, Dom, because I've seen your videos and I've heard you quite a bit.
It's all spells.
It is, brother. So I've always, because I was brought up in two languages, Calabrese, which is an Italian dialect, and English, and I had the Italo-Australian thing going on. We had Spanish people. I started learning flamenco guitar, Spanish, and then I started learning other languages, Portuguese, French, Greek, Japanese, German, etc. Now, but what I did always go back to was theology, because I was brought up as a Jehovah's Witness. I'll stop there and let you just go, whoa. Now, but the thing was, I think for many people, the punishment you get in churches, and believe you me, there's a lot of punishment. First of all, you're a dirty, rotten sinner, and then they teach you crap that is not right. So you've got to sort out, you've got to wade through this stuff, but it's a really good punishment. It was for me anyway, because I really studied the Bible, even though it was the fictional way. Now, of course, all of those words just lift themselves off the page and show their true meaning. And you need the key for that, which is what I hope to share with you today, Dom. But that's basically it. 30 years back, I started as in my late teens, to really seriously want to know. I wanted to know. And that's why I'm here today.
Sorry about that. I had to find the mic button then. Right, so the first subject I wanted to touch on, because we just had Kevin Annett on exposing the Pope, Ratzinger, and all the crimes within the church. What is the connection to Vatican, religion, and astrotheology?
Yeah, beautiful question, brother. And tell you what, if you've seen my presentations, which you have, you know the answer to that. But the Pope, you might notice the strange garb he wears, the strange language he speaks, the strange rituals and rites and everything like that. and they happen to do things on certain dates all the time. They really do respect the solar and lunar calendar and all of the orbs, which is easy to see. It's not very hard to see. They still celebrate Christmas and Easter, which is really just basically a very, very, very ancient, goes back to hundreds of thousands, and they call it Christian. They call it some recent 2,000-year-old thing that's come up, this Christian church. And yet there's evidence, even their own church doctors like Augustine and Jerome, they all said, hey, Christianity's been around for a gazillion years. It's just we idiots that now, the name has come prominent to the fore because we've got all these young morons kicking around on the planet that believed that there was a savior that was born in the Middle East. So this is where the elites jumped up and jumped on board, as they always do, always use a good story, corrupt it, and use it for control. And that's what the Jesus story is. And but the Pope wears a hat called a mitre. Dagon's, that's the Dagon's mitre. Yeah, it's called a mitre. Now, when you turn him around from front view, that mitre looks just like a nice brass old Egyptian type hat that the pharaohs used to wear. But when you turn it around, you'll see that it's also indicating a fish, because good old Popey Poo, he is the servant of Peter Poo. Yeah, that'd be the Church of St. Peter. This is why the BBC reported that the Pope can no longer adequately exercise his Petrine ministry. Now, I saw that word and it just jumped out, like dog's genitalia. But the average person will see that and go, oh, that's a nice word. It's all Catholic, that word. But really what it is basically it's Jesus is a corruption of two words, the Greek Zeus and the Roman Jupiter, the ruler of Pisces. You see, they know, as I know, and all astrologers know, and people who have the key, they know, and astrology is the key, by the way, astro-theology, astrology, astronomy, it's all the stars. The key is the planets and the orbs and the mechanisms of the heavens. Now, when Pisces is the ruler of the age, which it was for the last, coincidentally, 2,000 years, which is exactly the Christian age, and the ruler thereof must, have all the garb of Jupiter, Zeus, the god of the gods, the ruler of the rulers. He just rules them all, and everybody listens to his orders and his thunderbolts and etc. So down below as above, everything is mirrored. Everything is copied from the heavens. The controllers are well studied in these sciences. They know what they're doing. So when the Pope announced his resignation on February 11, again, that's when the Vatican began in 1929, with Mussolini signing the Vatican Concordant on February 11, 12 o'clock, and the Pope announces... Yeah, 74 years later. I'll get into this, what it means, but I can go deeper into this, but I'll just sort of skim over the top, give you a general outline. The Pope had to resign. He had to, because Jupiter resigned. And in fact, 7 hours to the minute, there was a lightning bolt that hit St. Peter's Dome. Now, those lightning comes from Zeus. That's the energy generated from Zeus. He's very electric and airy and fruity. So electrical activity in the atmosphere is absolutely generated by Zeus. And so that was a very significant sign that Jupiter approved of the down below part of the demise of him very self. And he actually handed over the throne to his grandpa Uranus and his father Saturn, who were the rulers of Aquarius. So as the reshuffling goes on in the skies, because those planets are always telling the time on Earth, we also conform. You see, the Piscean Church began 2,000 years ago when Aries, and the ruler of Aries being Mars, transited into Pisces 2,000 years ago when the JC family, Julius Caesar family, the Julians, ruled Rome for 100 years, turned it into an empire. It was a republic where all men knew that they were individual gods, and obeying the law of nature, they had a republic. Well, Julius Caesar, of course, and his family, that was too irresistible for them, and of course they took it over with some greedy aristocratic Roman families, made a corporation, called it empire, based it on fictional worship. Now you don't need any of these Jupiters and Saturns and causal gods in the heavens. You've got Julius Caesar and his son Augustus. These are gods, and they have their own calendars, which in fact have also coincidentally been around for 2,000 years. We see all this 2,000 year stuff going on. I'll explain that in a minute. 2,000 years of a horrible calendar, 2,000 years of a horrible fictional worship of false gods.
This calendar, this is the Gregorian calendar.
Yeah, Julio-Gregorian, exactly.
Yeah. And this is one thing that confuses me about the Gregorian calendar. It's like that they take a day away or add a day every 4 years, take an hour away, add an hour. So it doesn't seem that accurate to me at all.
No, it's because it's based on two calendars, the two orbs, the sun and the moon. That's why. I'll get into that, Dom. It's really easy to understand what's going on with the Roman calendar. It's not bad. It's just that they know it's only a secular calendar. That's all it is. It's not really a holy calendar, even though we have holy days. Sunday's a holy day. A New Year's Day is a holy day. The Queen's birthday. It's supposed to be a holy calendar, but it's a secular calendar. And it doesn't matter. It's just that no one's been told that. And the two of them can, this calendar can go on for a long time without being offensive to, enlightened human beings, as long as they recognize that it fits over the astrological calendar perfectly. And the astrological calendar is the true calendar that underpins it, and only astrologers who are well-versed in this beautiful science of all sciences, the mother of all sciences, know this. So, to me, all of those Roman dates have their equivalent astrological days, and they are followed. They are all taken from the orbs. For instance, Christmas Day. That's it's self-explanatory. 25th of December. Hello, if it's not the first day of the year in which the sun climbs after the solstice of the 21st. So it's obvious. They just cannot hide it, and yet they still go about naysaying just to prove and declare to the universe that they are ignoramuses. And that's all they are. But there are four timekeepers in the heavens, the great biblical timekeepers, Dom, and they would be Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. And they all have 1,000-year rulerships. This is why 1,000 years is so important. But to be more accurate, it's 1,008 years. See, Uranus, let's start off with Jupiter. 12 years he takes to do an orbit. 12 times 84 is 1,008 years. Uranus, Saturn, 30 years, or 29-year orbit. Multiplied by 72, which is a precessional figure. Every 72 orbits of Saturn, 1,000 years, or 1,008 years. That number turns up again. Uranus, his daddy, 84 years. 12 revolutions, 1,008 years. Neptune, 164 years. 6 revolutions, 1,008 years. So all of these four big boys, the big boys, these are called the outer planets. They all have a 1,008-year orbit thing going on. And all the other planets do too, but I won't get into that for now, because those are the planets, my friend, that you can rest assured Popey Pooh's Ratzinger and all his cardinals and everybody knows about this 1,000-year rulership of the planets. And so they know that each sign is around about 2016 years going by that, or that's at least how they time keep. And that's a fact. You'll never hear this in church, and you won't even hear it from astrologers, because both of them are teaching it and both of them are unaware of it, because they don't realize that the Bible is astrology and astrology is the Bible.
Yeah, it's like with these Gregorian dates, and that's done on a cycle as such. But if you look at what the universe is, we're never going to be in the same place ever again. It's always moving onwards, isn't it?
That's right, brother. Yep. Nothing ever stays the same. And every year we say, we celebrate our birthday because the sun has returned. So, for instance, me being born on March the 24th, in 1 month's time, I will have a birthday and I will say I am now a year older. The word year comes from yes, which is the original name of the sun.
So this is all like looking at sun, the stars, our energy, ourselves, and what we truly are. And some people I know have attacked you and said that this is new agey stuff that's all connected to the New World Order plan and the elites. What would you say to that?
If anything, it's the oldest stuff that ever was. There's nothing new under the sun. These people have been, it's like doctors who say, dentists, here, take this fluoride. It's good for your teeth. It's just stupidity and ignorance piled on top of stupidity and ignorance when people repeat their opinions and vomit their filthy, stupid, erroneous opinions. We know, Dom, and the higher-minded people who have really done their research know that it is just pure science and that it is the oldest wisdom. In fact, the Egyptians knew about this. Their pyramid, the Great Pyramid, they built that to fractals and harmonics of precession. Now, precession, we live in a cycle called the Great Year, and it is exactly 25,920 years. And that is the golden number. The number of precession, all of those numbers I mentioned before, 1,008, 72, 12, all of those, they are all precessional numbers, all having to do with astrology and the dimensions of the solar system. Now, the circumference of the sun is 2,592,000 miles. And that is exactly 100 times precession. And Plato spoke about it. Everything Plato did was based on precession, the great year. In fact, we still call the year the Platonic year, because Plato spoke so much about this year. Pythagoras, Orpheus, every single wise ascended master who ever lived speaks only about the solar science, which is the holy science. You've got to know the numbers. You must know the numbers. This is why 12, 153, 144, 7, 40, all of these precessional numbers repeatedly turn up in all of the holy texts. And would you believe it? None of these churchgoers have even bothered to question those numbers. They see 12 all the time. Jesus has 12 apostles. Jacob has 12 sons. There are 12 judges. There are 12 prophets. There are 12 this. There are 12 that. 12 stones that the Israelites put in the bed of the Jordan as they crossed the Jordan. 12 pillars they put on the other side of the Jordan. There was always 12 tribes. They were careful about this 12 business, very careful. There's never a 13 or an 11. Oh, no. Can't have that number, because it's all astrology.
So within the Bible, from your teachings and studies, is this not about a man that walked the earth and was telling people that Roman civil law is not God's law, and from your teachings and studies, it's all about the sun cycle, the universe, and that sort of connection.
Yeah, but it's not as clear cut as that too, Dom. There are the Bible is a kind of a book that has 7 levels of complete interpretation, and the bottom level is historical. But the historical stuff is put in retrospectively. The historical stuff is put in to give perspective to the real history that is going on in the Bible. It's a history of the solar system, and it is able to record this history by knowing the key, which is precession.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah, well, the key of precession is the number that I gave you, 25,920 years, the most important number you will ever know. And all other numbers are fractals, harmonics, and smaller or larger divisions of multiplications of that number. Everything we do. You look at your clock, you've got 24 hours divided by minutes, and there are 60 minutes and 60 seconds, just like degrees. Isn't that funny how we've got 360 degrees and then we've got 60 minutes and 60 seconds of arc? Because it all goes, even our timekeeping goes back to Saturn, Uranus, and the timekeepers, the great timekeepers, and their minutes. They give us the minutes. The hour hand is Horus. You look at the word hour and just put an S on the end of that, and that's just an anagram of Horus, because the sun is the hour keeper, and the moon is the minute keeper. That's why we call it moonets. How many moonets in a sun, in an hour, in a Horus? And how many seconds? The seconds pertain to Mercury, because Mercury is the fast one, speedy around. And how do we get this time? It's easy. You just look at astrology. Right. Every 12 sign of astrology is divided into 5 terms of 6 degrees, because a sign is 30 degrees, and you divide it into 5. That's 6-degree segments. Those are called terms. Now, there are 12 signs and there are 5 terms in each sign. That's 60. So the terms actually are equivalent to the 60 minutes that we have. The hours are equivalent to the zodiacal signs, 12 hours or 24 hours a day, 12 signs. That means each sign gets 2 hours. And so it's undeniable. I mean, who's going to say, oh, no, this is not true, Santos. I'm going to run away from this truth and block my ears. Well, that's all you can do if you don't want to acknowledge it, but it's pure truth. And there are no other facts that the sun does take 365 days, or the Earth-Sun relationship takes 365 days. These are facts. I'm only just grabbing facts and showing how they all come together perfectly in the Bible. And so I've exposed it.
So, like, you've also said that I had a look on some of your stuff. There's quotes like Jesus hoax and Pagan Christ. Would you like to go into more detail on that?
Yeah. Pagan Christ, basically we see that very wise men had the tradition of writing, anthropomorphizing these orbs, these archetypes. Jupiter's an archetype. The sun is an archetype. The only reason we can see the sun is because we're in the Earth's atmosphere. In clear space, the sun is invisible. Human eyes cannot see the sun or stars out in space. You have to be on the planet with your feet, pretty much in the atmosphere. That's what causes the sun to be seen, you see. So they had a tradition of writing about these orbs in an anthropomorphic way, because we are children of those light orbs and we do the same things. Therefore, this hero that walks around with 12 disciples, being the sun, it's funny how Horus, Buddha, Krishna, Jesus, Osiris, Zabasius, Attis of Phrygia, Mithras. They all had 12. Of course they did. The sun only has 12 segments on the ecliptic that it journeys on. So he's only got 12 helpers. That's how it works. So the pagan Christ that they're talking about, you see, it always goes back to Jesus. Jesus seems to be the measure of everything. All Westerners go, oh yeah, but that other God seems to copy Jesus. They think that Jesus is the only model. No. It's the sun. And it was the Romans that plucked him out of the other thousands of saviors and said, this is the one. Because they wanted a corporate logo. They wanted a God that they could have down on earth, that they could say, oh, we need to collect taxes on his behalf so we can do his work. We're going to do his work, you see. That's why they write up all these papal bulls saying, oh, we own the world, all the souls therein. We're going to, outside of this church, you cannot be saved. And so morons for 2,000 years have been declaring this, Ecclesia, salus ecclesia extra non est, which means out of this church you can't be saved. So, Dom, you and I, we've got no hope at all unless we submit to the pedophiles.
Really? Wow.
Yep. It's the only way you can be saved. You've got to go down to the Vatican, pull your pants down, bend over, and then you can be saved. All those little boys that they've saved.
I think they fuck us daily.
Yeah, I think so too, my brother. And you know what? So I clap my hands that the Pope's retiring. Actually, I'll clap my hands even more when he's in jail, because he will be. The reason why he's retired is because he's running away from real, perfected claims against the Vatican and warrants of arrest. And these are not those warrants that, have you seen some of those vids coming out of Ireland with Ben Gilroy and all of those sovereigns there, how they stop those sheriffs in their tracks? They come along with all their arrogance. We have a warrant to evict you from this house. And then all they do is they turn the cameras on and then they just ask questions. Oh, I see. Is the warrant signed? Is it wet ink? Was the judge on his oath when he signed it? And was the judge really a judge? Did he have an oath? Did he have a bond? Who are these people with these papers coming around? Papers? Papacy? Sounds similar, doesn't it?
Yeah. And PayPal.
Yeah. And PayPal, exactly.
And I've heard that allegedly PayPal is actually owned by the Vatican.
Absolutely, they own everything, Dom. In the end, it's their corporation that trumps all the others and sucks all of the assets and energy and all of the power and whatever the other corporations below them achieve. They all go back to the Vatican. It was set up this way by the Julians, the Flavians, the Constantines, the Piso family, the Orsini family, and finally the de Medicis and the Guelphs and the Saxe-Coburg-Gothers, and all of this one pirate criminal family that has no other intention than to rule us with an iron rod and to just get filthy, filthy rich, because they don't think of eternal good for all of us. They just think of now good for them. As long as they're eating caviar and drinking champagne and smoking Cubans, doesn't matter how many little kids in Africa are starving to death. It does not matter. Their machine, corporation must go on. So I think we should all be rejoicing in the fact that the Pope has, and we should follow Kevin Annett's work and go to Rome in Easter and occupy that building, because we own it all. They stole it off us, and we will return it back to God, the community, which is we, the light people. It will. It will only be a matter of weeks, brother. It will be, and it might be more weeks than some wish, because many people are suffering. There's people that are severely depressed on medication, maimed and amputated by all these wars that are going on just to keep the military-industrial complex going for the Pope. and all those pedophile satanic families, etc., etc. We know all about that because we've done our homework. But anyway, their demise has come, and the reason being is because you and I and the listeners and many, many more have woken up. And in the end, we've discovered that the power was with us in the first place. The control might be with them, but the power is with us. And so, as Thomas Jefferson said, people who fear their government, there will be trouble. Government who fears the people, there will be peace.
So what do you make of the statement, Jesus or Christ is in every one of us?
Yeah, well, that's true, because Christ is the oil that's in the cerebrospinal system. It's called chrism. The Greeks, for thousands of years, were calling the cerebrospinal sacred fluid chrism, or Christ, or Christos, oil. It's an oil. That's why we say Christ the good oil. I don't know how many hymns that I've sung about the good oil of Christ in my church days. But the oil that runs in the nervous system, the tree of life in your body, is as vital as the blood. Now, we're always told that the blood is a divine fluid, but it's equally as important as the cerebrospinal fluid. That's another system of veins in the body, but a different fluid. Now, there are 4 rivers in the Garden of Eden, and that's the body, the Garden of Eden. The 4 rivers are the blood, the urine, the saliva, and the cerebrospinal fluid. And those are the four rivers. And they go out from the east. The east is the head. Because
how's the head the east? Because like if I thought about it, if you're coming from the spine and you're going up to the head, I would have thought logically that would have been north. But please explain.
Exactly, beautiful. If you look at ancient Freemasonic cardinal crosses, you'll see that they don't have north on the top; they have east. Yeah, because they know that the sun rises in the east, therefore that's the head. Yeah, right ascension of meridian occurs on March the 21st, first degrees of Aries, but right ascension of meridian occurs every day at 6 a.m. And when you look at the sun in the morning, he's pretty much rising in the east. And so that's the top of the cross, the east, and that's where the head is of every human being. Every human being is designed the same way as the zodiac wheel. The head is in Aries and the feet are Pisces, and all the other 10 signs, all in line. They all fit in the body in 12 perfectly separated degrees. Aries in the head, Taurus in the neck, Gemini the 2 arms, the 2 twins, Cancer the chest, Leo the lion heart, Virgo the belly, the kidneys, the reins, they would be Libra. Scorpio is the generative system. The hips, well, that's short for hippo, and hippo is what Sagittarius is, a horse. That's Sagittarius. The kneecaps, that's Capricorn. The shins is Aquarius, and the pedestrian Pisces, pedo, because piedo is feet, which comes from fish, is Pisces. So the human temple, and if you stand erect and have your arms outstretched, you resemble a cathedral, because a cathedral is also made in the image of the zodiac. Everything you see is made just the same, as above, so below.
Yeah. So if Christ or Christos is in us as the oil as such, what would you say to the people out there that actually claim to be the Messiah? Because I've met a few, even David Michael Shaler, who's an ex-MI5 whistleblower, now claims to be the Messiah.
Yeah, I know. And David Icke did it, and there's a few others that did it. And It's a stage. It's a stage, and it's a necessary stage. There's nothing wrong with people doing this, and there's nothing right with it. They're going to get laughed at, and they're going to get respected. But the thing is this: we are all, when we wake up, there are different levels of waking up. You see, and when you finally go past the heart chakra into the throat chakra and then into the head chakras, that you realize that, and you learn and understand and see that you are Jesus Christ, the Savior, because you have to save yourself. And Christ is within you. Christ can never, the light. See, Christ means consciousness and light. The whole universe is conscious. Every single thing you see is dripping wet with consciousness. The sun, the air, consciousness is everything. It's the driving, intelligent thing that just makes everything seamlessly seem to just flow in a continuous flow of plasma. It's consciousness. It's electric. The force driving it is electricity. The power driving it is light. Still light. Light is still. When it separates, it becomes electric. That is what people refer to as the force of the universe, electromagnetism. And so we all wake up to the fact that we are Christ. We all have to. The thing is that some people get stuck there for a little bit longer than others because they've got an important thing to do. To warn people, to help them realize that they've all got to go through that path of awakening. We all do. I mean, we've all laughed at people that have awakened before us. We have. I did when I was a Jehovah's Witness. I thought these people who were talking about astrology and all of that, I thought they were just demonized.
I do love a Jehovah. I love Jehovah's. I love talking to them. And to me, it seems like they come to the door in twos. And they'll stand there and you'll have one that will really know about Jehovah and the one who's training. And I get really enlightened conversations from these guys because there is a lot of knowledge within these old school books such as the Bible.
Yeah, absolutely. I do not regret the 20 years that I served as, a Jehovah's Witness because I learnt the Bible back to front. And that is the best asset. Our hermetic Western magic astrological wisdom book is the Bible. And it's been misunderstood. And there's a whole bunch of morons out there that belong to corporate churches that will kill you for not believing their version of it. They've thrown away the key. Their priests have thrown away the key. They are basically just groping around in the darkness. And they have no key, and they will always be taught to say astrology is from the devil. Therefore, they continue to deny the key, and they will never learn the key to their mysteries.
Well, Santos, I've got so many people in the chat, so many questions coming in at the moment. It's like I don't think we've ever had questions like this come in on such a scale. So I'd like to apologise to anyone who has bunged questions in, and if you do want questions, just keep repeating them until I do see them and I'll put them across to him. But if I'd like to go back a tiny bit, there's a question about the fluid, the oil, the Christ, and how long does this take to rise up to the pineal gland?
Oh, that all can be done in one lifetime. It's a continual process of a life of moderation. This is why the controllers out there are so keen to advertise their wares. They continually promote things to distract us. New cars, new career paths, do this, do that. And what happens is every single distraction in this materialistic world that is not in harmony with raising the oil will postpone that job, which means that you could potentially die with the body that you've been given in this lifetime, not having woken up, meaning that you will, once your body is gone and your consciousness continues, you will have to reincarnate in order to step up the vibration and be able to get away from this prison of 7 chakras. Beautiful 7 chakras, but it's a prison because the matter of our bodies really gravitates to those chakras and we really, really are now focused in these bodies. Even though we are multidimensional people, we really, really just get stuck in these bodies and believe in them so much. We even give them names and certificates of birth and certificates of ownership, and we own things with these bodies, or we think we own things. And we want titles of ownership. We want a proof of it, you know, and then we die, of course, and leave it to the four winds. But nonetheless, we have been distracted by material pursuits. So the one that devotes himself to moderation and good habits will raise that oil. It's a natural process. It's as natural as if you eat food, you will have to go to the toilet. Because
that's for sure, yeah.
Yeah, so if you do practice moderation and you don't get blind, slobbering drunk every night, and, you know, smoke 6-pack cigarettes and eat 40 McDonald's every day, like some people actually do. I've seen people that eat like about 20 hamburgers a day. They can handle that amount of food and do actually get blind drunk every single night with their mates and smoke like about 4 or 5 packets a day. That's all acidic. That's all going to keep the body in a very, very moldy acidic state, and the oil can't breathe, can't work. That what happens is all the oil is burnt with the acidity, and then once that oil is consumed, that is the moment. Once there's not enough oil in the body, that is the moment that the organism dies. People end up in coffins because of that. There's only one reason. If you can keep that oil flowing, rich, happy, and healthy, you can live forever in these bodies. You can actually live forever, and you can decide when you want to go back to the causal world, to unconditioned consciousness.
What do you actually mean you can live forever in the physical body?
Yeah, you can maintain these bodies forever. If you keep the balance of the oil so that the oil is constantly ascending, and enough returns to the third ventricle in the head, which is short for heaven. So once that oil climbs the 33 degrees or the 33 vertebrae of the spinal cord, the spinal column, it reaches the medulla oblongata, which is the relay station for all the beautiful activity that is going on in the cerebrum and the cerebellum, the two brains in heaven. And so that relay station, what happens is all the nerves of the body go through a hole at the bottom of the skull called the foramen magnus. Foramen, F-O-R, and then the word ammon. Please pay attention to that word ammon. There are many foramons. In Gray's Anatomy, it'll be called foramens in the body. But the biggest one, the magnum foramen, is that hole in the bottom of the skull, which is so sacred because all the ancients knew that once the oil goes back through there, there's no return, and the oil is crucified just where the vagus, the two nerves of the vagus nerve cross the medulla oblongata. That is the divine cross in your body. Because the vagus nerve is a vagrant nerve. That's why it's called vagus, because it vagrantly, like a vagabond, wanders all through the body and feeds all the vital organs, the lungs, the heart, the spleen, etc. Now, once all that beautiful oil, nice and rich and clean, goes up to the optic thalamus, it gets crucified just below at the vagus nerves. That's the crucifixion. And then all of a sudden that oil is accepted into the third ventricle. It smears the optic thalamus, remains dormant for 3 days. That's Jesus in the tomb for 3 days. And then it exalts, it is resurrected. And the pineal gland, of course, is just behind the optic thalamus. The pineal gland now is secreting a new fluid which is called the blood of the Lamb, which heals us of all our sins. So the idea is to get the oil back to the optic thalamus, which is the light, the lamp of the body. Jesus said, keep that eye simple. That's the eye, optic thalamus. In fact, it is the central command system of all the five senses, not just the optic. But the optic is the one that sees. You see, our eyes see, but our eyes don't see everything. You know, serpents, dogs, cats, eagles, they are all animals that have better eyes than human beings do. We deliberately have had our eyes, well, not deliberately, but at the moment, our eyes are weaker than most animals. You know, and what we can see, you know, my dog, for instance, sometimes starts barking because behind me she can see something going on. You know, and so those eyes are different. They can see different magnetic fields. We cannot. The magnetic fields that we see are in that small spectrum from red to violet. And then infrared and ultraviolet we cannot see, but animals can. And so our senses are limited until such time as we reactivate our 360 senses and not be imprisoned by 5. And so the optic thalamus is the key to this. It's the key. Only ones who have ascended have had that lamp reopened. And you see this beautiful new fluid called the blood of the Lamb, Aries, the cerebrum. It reactivates all the dormant brain cells. The cerebrum is full of dormant brain cells. We know that because scientists tell us we are only using 1% of our brains. Well,
speak for yourself.
Right. Yeah, sorry, I told a lie. I'm only speaking I'm only using 0.00001% of my brain. So, you know, I know that there is much, much, much more. I realize with all the knowledge I have how stupid I am and how ignorant I still am. I still just frustrate myself daily for wanting to know so much, my friend. I mean, there's so much to know, and that we will always be knowing and learning. This is why naysayers are living a very dangerous life. To say, oh no, I'm a Pentecostal and I'm a Jehovah's Witness and I've got the truth and I'm going to die Jehovah's Witness. Catholics say the same. They all say the same. Now, that'd be fine if we all realized that all religions are only just the one, which they are, and I've proven.
I do like Danny Shine T-shirt that he used to wear, where it says "God is far too big to fit into one religion," and that is about the size of it. Really, it's like if God is everything, then we are part of that, and we are the all. As above is below. But after the hour, what I want to touch on is the One People's Public Trust, which you know quite a bit about as well. But before we do get to that, if you remember, I gave you my alleged date of birth. Did you ever?
Yeah, let's do it now, brother. What do you reckon?
let's do it.
Yeah, 7th of 74. Okay, I'll pull that up while we talk. Now, do you remember the time you were born? I think you said no.
No, I don't remember. All I know is I think it might have been morning, but I'm not too sure. I know it was in a blizzard.
Never mind. All right. So let's go. The birth is the 7th of December, 1974. Okay. Well, I can give you quite a lot of information about you without even knowing the time. Okay. So, London, anywhere there? Or just...
Oh, right. Where was I born? I was born in Ashford in Kent. Allegedly.
Ashford in Kent. There you go. I've put 12 p.m. here, so it's sort of middle of the day, because you've got 12 hours preceding it and 12 hours after it, so it's sort of in the middle. Okay. Let's see what we can do. You're obviously a Sagittarian, which means you're very naturally jovial, which is beautiful. Now, your moon is right on the cusp of Virgo, which means if you were born in the morning, you would have a Virgo moon. If you were born after 12 in the afternoon, you have a Libran moon. So let's talk about your reactive nature. When you react, let's say someone demands that you react, like in a confrontational situation, or someone scares you. How do you react? What's your reaction? Are you, if you have, for instance, if you have a Cancer moon, you're probably, very watery, emotional, motherly. You have a motherly sort of a moon type reaction. If you're Aryan, you've got an Aryan moon, you can be quite confrontational yourself. You can be very martial and very aggressive. Oh man, my sister's got an Aries moon, and if you get on the wrong side of her, the Aries comes right out firing. So how do you think you react? Do you react in a very balanced Libran manner with, in a just way, always endeavoring to have justice come to the fore and balance, equilibrium? Or are you very analytical and you analyze what people, say to you so that you can react in a very kind way after you've analysed the situation?
Sometimes I can be quite spontaneous and jump straight in there and off the cuff and attack straight away. But my thoughts tend to be pretty quick and pretty accurate anyway, but I can be wrong at times, as anyone can. But on the other hand, I can analyse things and sit there and not say a word about it and then deal with the matter later when I've got more facts to hand, and then I still go to town on them. But it's a learning curve for myself. If somebody tries to put me in fear and attacks me, then it's an evaluation process for me and how I deal with it, whether it is on the spot or even months, years down the line.
All right. Well, I get a bit of Virgoan stuff there. So you probably were born in the morning. Afternoon would make you Libran. But those signs there are very, very compatible. They both have very strong feminine. Libra is ruled by Venus, and Virgo, of course, is very, very feminine with Mercury ruling it. So there's your moon, brother. Your sun, of course, is Sagittarius. I cannot tell you your ascendant because I need the time of day. But if I were able to come to England and see you face to face, I'd be able to tell after a while what your ascendant would be, because you would see that coming through in your looks. So those are the things, those two things you really cannot perfectly establish, the moon and the ascendant, if you don't have the time. But there's
Is there a way of finding out the time?
Yes, there is. Yes, there is. I know an astrologer down here, about 20 minutes from my place. I've been to see him, and he knows a Vedic way of getting the time. The Vedic astrologers know how to find that time. But there's a lot of other exciting stuff in your chart that I'd love to tell you about, brother. You've got some very good things here. Do you want me to tell you those? You've got...
Please do. Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Look, you've got Mars in Scorpio, which gives you 5 golden points. Mars is the ruler of Scorpio. Therefore, this is what's called in astrology a true domicile. Mars is living in his true house, which means all that martial energy that you have is very prominent in your chart, but it's pure martial energy, and you have been given one of the essential dignities. This is what's called an essential dignity. Your chart is dignified by Mars in its true home. Also, you have Jupiter in Pisces, which has also got another 5 points because Jupiter rules Pisces, as I explained before. The Pope was ruling for 2,000 years in the age of Pisces, and his Petrine minister was Jupiter, the rock. Petra means rock, and it also means Peter, and it means Jupiter. So Jupiter has left the building. He ruled the age of Pisces. And you have Jupiter in Pisces, which means you have 10 points just by essential dignities. You have a pretty kind chart. And I can go on if you want.
Please do. I'm finding this all quite fascinating.
All right. Well, you've got the Sun in Sagittarius. Sagittarius is a fire sign, which means you are an intuitive. According to Carl Jung, the fire signs have the intuitive faculties heightened. And since the Sun is the ruler of the fire element, obviously, you get another 3 points because you automatically score 3 points if you're Sagittarian or Arian or Leo, because that's the fire element. Now, Mars also gets you another 3 points because Mars is the ruler of the water element, and Mars is in Scorpio. So you've got 16 points just with Jupiter, Mars, and the Sun.
What do you mean about this? You said 10 points earlier and then 16 points. What does that mean?
All right, let's just talk about that briefly. There's what's known as essential dignities in one's chart. And I've just discussed your essential dignities. I've discussed 2 types. There are 5 types of essential dignities. The most important thing you need to look for is a planet that is in its own home, because then the 2 energies combine together to absolutely bless the individual that is born under those signs. So, for instance, Jupiter in Pisces is such a beautiful thing for you. I have the same thing, by the way. My Jupiter was in Pisces. I was born 12 years before you, 63. So Jupiter was transiting Pisces at the same time. So we both have this Jupiter in Pisces thing going on.
Is that magic number 12 as well?
Yeah, and like in the Grand Prix, the dude who gets the gold and it comes first, he gets 30 points these days. I think they used to give them 10 points, and the second guy got 5 points, and the third one got 3 and then 2 and then 1. Well, this is what happens. The most points you can get in astrology in the essential dignities is a domicile. Now, you have 2 domiciled planets, both in water, Jupiter and Mars. Jupiter in Pisces and Mars in Scorpio. Now, I know I've said this already, but it's repetition is good for emphasis and for your memory. Those planets have scored you 5. That's top score. Next is 4 points with an exaltation. Let me see if you've got any exaltations. You would need, for an exaltation, you would need the Sun to be in Aries, my sign, for instance. That's 4 points. Or you would need the Moon to be in Taurus, because the Moon exalts in Taurus and the Sun exalts in Aries. And you do not appear to have any exaltations. I've just done a quick look. You've got Saturn in Cancer. That's no good. You lose 5 points there, actually, because he is in detriment, which is the opposite of domicile. So Saturn's in a really bad place there in Cancer. But it doesn't matter, because there's other things to look at. I could spend hours on this chart, and I will one day when we get the time for you. But I just want to do the essential dignities and at least teach your listeners and yourself one thing. Let's see if we can teach you one thing about astrology. So the next points are 3 points, and we've already discussed that. You can get 3 points if the planet is ruling the element, and you have got 3 points with Mars because Mars rules water. If Mars is in any watery sign in your chart, you automatically get 3 points. And then the other 2, you can score 2 points and you can score 1 point, which is by a thing called faces and terms. There are 3 faces in each sign of 10 degrees each. They are also called deacons. And if your planet is in one of his ruling faces, you also get 2 points. And if your planet is in one of what's called a term, there are 5 terms. I already discussed this before. I said there are 5 terms in each sign, which means 12 times 5 is 60. And that's where we got our minutes and seconds from the terms. It all comes from astrology. So if you've got a planet, and I'll need more time to check your planets to see if any of the planets are in their terms, you'll get an extra 1 point. But anyway, just looking at your chart, I can guarantee you that you have got more dignities than you have got detriments in your chart. There are a thing called essential dignities and essential detriments. Boy, I hope I've said that right. And let me just check that.
Dignities, that must be a good thing. And
debilities.
Yep.
Sorry, I did say it wrong. Let me repeat that. There is essential dignities and essential debilities. Now, for you, Saturn in Cancer is a debility. You've automatically wiped 5 points off of your scoring because Saturn is in Cancer. Doesn't like being there. He prefers the opposite sign, Capricorn, which he's the ruler of.
Okay.
So there's a real brief introduction for your chart. I would love to recommend to you, though, because I can see that you really, really do need your cell salts. You need silica. You might want to write these down, or you can replay the recording of this. But you need, just for time's sake, you need silica for Sagittarius. That's the cell salt for Sagittarius, and you need the 2 subsequent ones, which are Capricorn, calcium phosphate, and the Aquarian cell salt is sodium chloride, natural table salt. But don't go to Coles and buy that shit. Get sun-dried, and you want to crush it daily. Don't get ground salt. Buy the rocks and crush it daily and use it crushed daily, because you will get so much benefit from salt. My
2 favourite salts are there's Himalayan pink salt, and there's another crystallised salt which it all forms in pyramids.
Yeah, beautiful. Get that salt, brother. That Himalayan pink salt, that's been sitting there for eons, and you're actually now, every time you break that sodium chloride molecule up in your body is receiving one of the 12 salts, which are the pillars of the temple of your body. There are 12 systems in your body: skeletal, circulatory, respiratory, excretory, and lymphatic, etc., etc. 12 systems. Just Google it. Just buy, a Grey's Anatomy or whatever. Now, each sign of the zodiac rules one of those. Sagittarius is the I forget. Aries is the cerebrospinal. Capricorn is the skeletal system. That's why you need calcium phosphate. And potassium phosphate for Aries is the electric cell salt, which will electrify your brain. So if you want to take... I recommend to people who are not sort of, seriously wanting to know anything about their chart, just to take the 12 salts. Go down to your local health food store and just get the bioplasma. 12 salts covers them all. But if you have a specific problem, and I can see that if you're going to have any problems in your health, Dom, it will be in Pisces, Sagittarius, and Virgo, because that's where all your hard aspects. Now, what hard aspects are, is that you'll have squares, oppositions, trines. All those planets are aspecting with each other. Now, I see that you have a few hard aspects in your sign, so I'd be hunching that you might have to strengthen your Pisces, which is the nerves. And have you ever had rheumatic fever?
Not to my knowledge, no. But then again, I've been to a doctor about once in the past 10 years. Okay.
Try this one for size, and then we'll go for a break. Just quickly, what about appendicitis?
Nope. The only illnesses I've ever had that I've known about are asthma. And I can't think of anything else. I might have a little bit of brain damage, I've been told. That's a joke, by the way.
No, that's about all I can see. Apart from that, just your Pisces and Sagittarius signs, your mutable signs, Pisces and Sagittarius and Virgo, are struggling a little bit with debilities. So Sagittarius is mainly liver and eyesight, and Pisces is generally all your nerves, and Virgo is generally your stomach and digestion. So you might want to just boost those up, and that's about it. That's about it for your medical.
Okay. Right. So you just said a minute ago you want to go for a little break.
I don't need one. I don't need
one.
one.
You don't need one? All right, because we
Nope.
can just carry on and go straight through. Because one of the subjects I really want to touch upon is the One People's Public Trust, which I've only just heard about recently through Mel V, who was a guest on a couple of weeks ago, and it does sound like very interesting stuff. So what is this One People's Public Trust about?
Okay, well, 3 people, including Heather Tucci, and the other guy is Caleb. I'm not sure what his surname is. Now, they have perfected a claim, a superior claim, to the Vatican's Sestui V Unum Sanctum 1302 papal bull, which was the first express trust in history. Now, when Pope Boniface VIII in 1302, just 5 years before the Knights Templar were dismantled, when he created Unum Sanctum, they stipulated in there this charter of their corporation, these satanic bloodlines who control the world, they stipulated that they would own the whole world and all of the chattel therein, everything, lock, stock, and barrel. So they made this claim, and no one ever since has said, look, we have a superior claim. Sorry, Vatican, but there is another trust that is superior to yours, and this trust works differently to yours. That has never happened for 800 years until now. And how they did this was they accused the authorities, all the authorities, the UN, the Vatican, the Pope, the Queen, the US corporation, and all of these big corporations of crimes against humanity, etc., etc. I mean, you can imagine what they accused them of. All things trashing the planet, stealing money from people's bonds, from people's Sestui V accounts, keeping people ignorant, not letting them know, force medicating people with fluoride in the water. By the way, that's sodium fluoride, very toxic, not calcium fluoride, which is one of the cell salts which actually is beneficial for your teeth. It's the elastic salt of the body. So they accused all of the authorities of this planet, gave them a month, which is what you're supposed to do in common law, natural law. So they followed the divine, natural, common law of the universe. They followed the procedure. They gave them 28 days. They put it in public in many newspapers and media outlets and on the internet all around the planet. They accused these people of people trafficking, military-industrial complex, starting wars for banks for no reason, etc. There was no rebuttal. Therefore, they have perfected their superior claim. We, you and I, can now immediately just position ourselves under that trust. We do not need to be under this Unum Sanctum anymore. Unum Sanctum is defunct. It's over. It's finished. We are
What's
now
Unum
under
Sanctum mean?
Unum means one, and Sanctum means holy. The holy one trust.
Okay, so this trust, the One People's Public Trust, is this going to be like that they'll be acting as the trustees and we would be the beneficiaries of the trust, and we've got to put all the property and everything that we think we may claim to own into their trust?
Absolutely. See, when you're born, they split they create a trust and keep the record of live birth. Then they issue a certified copy of that, which is a certificate called a birth certificate. which is as good as money, and it's a bond. And what that means is they give you that title, is equitable title, and they hold legal title. So what happens is the fruit of the earth, the fruit of the universe, all of its energy and all of its abundance can be used by us. That's why we were born here, so we could use it. We could breathe it. The air, that's free. We could drink the water, that's free. We could eat apples, they're free, and everything like that. Unum Sanctum came along and said, all right, well, what we're going to do is we're going to let you be a member of our club, our organisation. You can be a citizen. There you go. And so what they do then is they create a trust, and then you've got two titles. You're the beneficiary and they are the trustee. They have the equitable title. So what they've done, what they were supposed to do was administer our affairs and have a record of that certificate that we hold in our hands, so that they could governments at least of separate nations that use this system to protect us. But what they've done is they've actually made themselves the beneficiaries and dipped into our half by using our fruits, the usufructuary. You see, what they've done is they've made themselves usufructuary of both of those titles. So what they do when they summons you to court, they invite you, it's just an invitation. And
they're inviting you to their place of commerce as such, and this is why we are policed by consent. And then they use their spells and hide their words in their black magic books, which is Black's law, and that's how their game of commerce rolls, is my understanding of it.
Perfect. You took the words right out of my mouth. That's just what I was going to say, actually. Brilliant. And and so what they do is, with their tricks, and I can go into that, how they do it, it's quite easy, but they get you to be the trustee because they want to switch roles with you. They need to benefit. They need to use those fruits. So they bring your bond. What they do is they've got three trusts. They've got three bonds. They've got a bid bond, performance bond, and a payment bond. They rock up to church. Funny about that slip. They rock up to court, which is church, which is a bank, and to do commerce. And they want all that beautiful money that's in your trust that you are the beneficiary of. So they change roles with you. But you've got to go to court, and you've got to submit to understand them, and understand their questions all the time, so that they can trick you and they can say thank you very much, and enrich themselves through those bonds. Because you see, they are supposed to have an oath, they are supposed to have a bond, they are supposed to have, what else are they supposed to have? Those two at least they're supposed to have when they rock up in court. But they rock up with those bid bonds and constructive bonds, because they're constructing a case here. You see, like any contractor would construct a home. You need to construct this thing. You see, so they trick you into being the trustee. They become the beneficiary. They get the benefits, and they cash those bonds in. Now, they haven't turned up with any of their bonds. So they're pretty much flying without a net, hoping that you don't realize that it's all your bond that is going to make them that money from cashing in those bonds. You see, these are securities. And how do they do that? Well, you see, because they certify their papers and we don't, when you get certified authorized paperwork, the prosecutor always, the policeman that prosecutes you because you went 10 miles over the limit and you're in court and he's prosecuting, all these papers are certified. He actually has got securities and bonds, and you haven't. You've got these affidavits that are signed by a justice of the peace. That's not certified. So this is why we always lose.
So it seems to me that you've got these banking elites that started out within the churches holding gold and property for people, and they were giving people tickets and receipts and bonds so they could come back at any time and pick up their gold. Now, the priests that are holding this realised they had a huge store of gold, and the people weren't going to come back and collect it all at once, so they started loaning it out. And this is where the fiat currency and the commercial system that we got in date today. Now, would you believe me that by the statement of power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely? And that's what's happened to them. They might have genuinely done this. Well, they might have had the intent to control us with this intent, but it might have just stemmed out of the way, and they've just got power hungry with the power that they've got.
Yes, of course, that's how it happened. Because nothing is all evil or all good on this plane in which we live. Nothing is. Absolutely nothing. And yet it is all one, but nonetheless, it happened. It's just something. See, they can't just write a papal bull and create trusts that are totally in their favour, even though it has become that way. They had to give us some benefits. They had to at least pretend that they did this to protect us, which they did, because we hold the certificate. I mean, I've got my birth certificate. I've got my bond, which proves that I'm equitable title holder of it. So I'm the chief CEO, and I'm the president of that, and I'm the boss of that. Really, equitably. But you see, what's happened is they conveniently forgot to tell us how it works. And then in 1933, of course, with the bankruptcy, we became chattel of the Vatican through their deception of the birth certificate, etc. But yes, Dom, yes, it's that corruption factor, because most of those people, a lot of those people that were behind that trust would have been good people. They can't all have been evil. They can't. It's impossible. You can't just have a whole bunch of evil people conspiring to do just evil things. They actually do good things too. They do. It's just that because of ignorance, the intent behind all things gets railroaded, gets corrupted, and this is why you and I, the people, need to reclaim our governments and reclaim these things. We need a government that fears us, that says, hey, trustees, pay this bill of mine. Here are my numbers. Hey, trustees, do this and do that because we pay you. And if you don't, you're out of there. And this is why, yeah.
See, what I'm looking at with trust and things like this and claims make you liable. If you claim to own anything, especially in their system, they'll just take it from you anyway, because truly they own everything in this world of commerce, even down to the registration of the name. Therefore, you use the name, they own you. Now, if you're going to put everything into trust, and in fact, it's already in trust with the Bank of England, and they do own you, and they control you from that aspect of it. So now these guys that are doing the One People's Public Trust might be doing something out of good intentions, but power corrupts. So who's to say that by giving all these people your property and your claims of ownership, that they're not going to own you and control you just as much as the power elites that do it now? And would the power elites actually let anybody use any trust against them when they could just wage war and bring in military force?
Yeah, I don't like it either, Dom. It smacks of, it's all now to their advantage. You go to court, you lose, even though you rock up with even if you rock up, with all your knowledge and you know how the system works, they will find a way, and they can if they want to. Sometimes they let you go through, and these sovereigns come back and they go, oh, we won. Yeah, okay. Well, you may have won too, but some of the times it's because they let you win. So, but the thing is, Dom, if we just think about this, okay, I don't like the idea that, because I know that I don't own anything anyway, so that equitable title means diddly squat to me, probably like it does to you and a lot of other sovereigns. So I don't pay much attention to it anyway. But imagine this. If we all realised what those birth certificates were, that they were bonds, and that we can pay for anything. You can go to a lawnmower shop, buy a lawnmower if you need one because it's broken down. You can buy a car. If we realised that that was real money and not the money that the banksters tell us is money, we could have 100% peace today, because what we could do with those certificates is we could, if we needed a car, we just go straight up to the car yard and say, I want that brand new Mercedes-Benz over there. There's my bond. Pay for it. And the salesman says, great, thank you very much. Thanks for your signature, Mr. Bonacci. See you later. There's your car. See you in 10 years when that one when that one breaks down. And so how can the elite bankers, the elite families now, corner the market? It's impossible for them, because why would we need to buy their cars when we can buy our own cars and we can buy our own houses because we've got our own bonds? So if everybody woke up instantaneously and realised, if we could get this knowledge out to people and realise that they can use those numbers on their birth certificates to buy anything you want because it's a prepaid system, that would immediately make all banks superfluous and redundant, and they would have to disappear. It's easy to make them disappear, those guys. Easy. Just use your bonds the way you're supposed to. That's it.
But and I totally agree with you. I've studied all this commercial redemption, and in theory it should work. But the way the system is built, when we're using it, whether it would be the registration of a child's name, and when you register that child, it truly becomes property of the crown and they own you, or own the child as such, and you become the guardian and told what to do. And my first advice, if I'm ever going to give any advice to anyone, is just don't register your children. Teach them how to be free from that system, and don't use the system. Whatever way, shape or form you can do that, just don't use it. It's there to control you. Now, when you're going in there fighting the system, whether it's with commercial liens or affidavits and deregistering of cars, it seems to me that a lot of this information is put out there and it's all discombobulated and very here and there, and it's very hit and miss, and people seem to be testing it out like I've done myself many, many times. And for people that claim ownership of anything, i.e. a car, registration of the car, they'll just take that vehicle from you and crush it, as many of my friends have tried, and they've had their homes crushed, and it's a destroying factor in life. So it makes me question, to fight the system, to me, seems to be you're giving that system energy, therefore they're getting stronger, and they're taking things off of people still. But if we can learn to live as far away from that system as possible, instead of trying to create a paradigm similar to it, like setting up another trust with beneficiaries, which is exactly like what the Bank of England have done to enslave us, why can't we just learn to be free and step away from that system? Learn to barter, share your skills, share your love. For the past 3 years, I've not claimed any benefits, not used money. I've not been working for money. And I've had the most pleasurable life. I can go to any festival I want. But then again, it's ups and downs. In the past couple of years, I've lived in anything from a £4.5 million mansion to living in a tent on a protest. So that's the path I've chose.
Yeah.
So,
I agree with you, brother. I absolutely agree with you 100%. I've been telling people, lose the name, win the game, get out of this corrupt system. It's Babylon the Great. It's putrid. It's disgusting because of all of the corruption. But I'm also positive and hopeful that that can be turned around by people realizing that they are really free in the end anyway. The only good thing that their system provides is that you can actually transact, if you need to, on a commercial basis with little bits of paper. Very handy. You don't have to bring all your sheep around. You don't have to bring all your eggs around if you need pumpkins at the market. You can just say, here's a slip that's worth 40 pumpkins. Can I have one of your sheep? Thank you very much. That's the only basic benefit. You see, they give you benefits, privileges and services. And that's part of society. They're very handy. but they do not trump rights, and they actually take away rights. Therefore, they are harmful. So it's been set up, totally been set up, so that it can be abused. Absolutely. It's all to their favour.
Right, we got a question come in from Prajna that's been repeated by Wild Hunt. It says, Dom, in 1946, Chief Justice Jackson said that waging a war of aggression is the supreme international crime. And they're always waging wars of aggression. So the question is, does Santos think that people who care about committing the supreme international crime would really give two hoots about trust law?
You mean the controllers? Does that mean the controllers?
Yeah, as such.
Yeah. You know what? They don't care about anything. They are absolutely ruthless, brutal, and now they even disregard their own laws, which is something that they never did. They did have honor at one stage whereby their own rules were respected. Now you can, they don't even respect their own rules, which they used to go by. So the honor's gone now. It's really hit rock bottom. I think it's because the system has realized that we've woken up. It was inevitable. It was coming. It was coming with the age of Aquarius. They knew that they only had a certain amount of time to do this thing, and I think they see the writing on the wall. I don't see any salvation for the system. It cannot be salvaged. Absolutely none.
I'm totally with you. They are recognising that there is a huge wave of people. I don't like using the waking up sort of phrase, but if we're going to use that, then people are like waking up, rising up to this oppression that's happened for thousands of years. And what I'm seeing now is, if I take about 10 years ago, people in my family, friends and everything like that realised that, or we all knew that we've got corrupt governments and they're here to control us. But nowadays, it seems every year it's going tenfold of information flying out there, and people are finding out the solutions. Either education, that's there to dumb people down, self-educate, simple. The healthcare system in the UK is the National Health. I think it's National Health. I don't know what it's called. I don't know. I don't use it. But that's there to make money out of people being sick. Therefore, they create pharmaceuticals to keep you sick, to make billions out of it rather than curing you. There's no profit in cure. And the monetary system, it's not got any value. In fact, it's much the opposite. It's debt. So if we can look at the healthcare system and teach people that these medicines are all around us in nature, and this is where the pharmaceutical industry have got all their tablets from. They've basically raped nature, copyright, and put patents on it and try and own it. And this is what's happening now today with Codex Alimentarius and Agenda 21. These policies are being pushed through so quick at the moment that before we know it, we're going to blink and we're going to wake up, and everything's going to be registered down to herbs that are growing wild. And then if you go out and start picking these herbs and making tinctures to heal people, it will be literally burn the witch. Well, it will be New Day, burn the witch. It will be commerce. It will be fine the witch, imprison the witch. It's making too much commerce and not paying tax. And this is the way I see the system. It's all a body of rules to enslave people by naivety. And it's a very clever, covert system of slavery. And the prison is the illusionary prison is made of paper. And this is it. We're controlled by a body of rules written on paper, money, which is on paper, and the birth certificate, paper. These are very easy things to walk away from, but how many people truly that are sick of the system? And the system has created a lot of things for us to benefit from, i.e. the name. People use the name every day. Money. People use money every day. The healthcare system, they use it every day. Education, they use it every day. So can people truly have a little bit of a look inside yourself, people? Can you live without using your name tomorrow? And I mean, that is literally not using the name. Anything that's tied to that, money or petrol or a car or anything like that, because this is a system of enslavement that is worldwide, and they've done such a good job on people. They've divided us and put us all in separate units and called them homes, when it's no further from the truth, because they don't even need prison guards anymore. People lock themselves inside concrete buildings. They don't go out and have eye contact with people on the street. If you go into a shopping market, you see people holding onto trolleys and looking at products, no smile on their face, and they've all got this same gormless look like a zombie. And if people are waiting for the zombie apocalypse, it's already here. Just go to Tesco's. And if you're waiting, or if you're saying the New World Order's coming, you're a bit late. It's here. It's been here a long time. They've got the divide and rule and the control. And for me personally, I think the solution, sorry to use the word personally, but the solution is, do not register the children and just stop using their system, whatever means or ways.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Make your own system. We are the system. We are gods. All the ancient texts have told us that. Don't forget that you are gods. The moment you do, the controllers will come around and they'll have a piece of your ass.
Well, this is it. Somebody else said about God earlier, so I don't need to put that across to you anymore. But this is truly it. We are all that. Well, we are one is a very silly statement on a physical realm, because we means many and one means single. So the polarities of that statement are overwhelming. But when we look at spiritually or energy-wise, we are all energy. But we're operating on this physical realm, and atoms have been proved to be 99.999 recurring space. So the whole of the universe that we perceive to be real is made of mostly space, and the physical part that's actually there is what we perceive to be real. So all the stuff that we don't know about is energy all around us that we do not know, and that's what we are part of. We are all that one, the sacred geometry and the pattern of what is. And if we can resonate in positivity instead of negativity, and I'm guilty of it myself, I get sucked into arguments and it doesn't feel good, and this is a resonance that you're passing on around you. You should do good.
Absolutely.
There's another question that's come across. Could you ask Santos about the court of record, please? Do you know anything about courts of record?
Well, one would have to convene a court of record if you're going to go to court, because then what you're doing is you're noticing them or notifying them that this is not going to be a administrative procedure. This is going to be a real court. So, but you'd have to convene it. First thing you'd do is just say that you're convening a court of records. But then when you start doing that, you've got to watch out, because they'll get you for fraud anyway, because you're using the name, I guess. Eventually, if you're using the name improperly, they will get you. You've got to be very, 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 very careful how you use that name, even as a beneficiary. But that's the way to have a court of record. Otherwise, they will just they won't record it at all, and they'll get away with all sorts of crimes. They'll just, and by the way, they don't keep the records themselves. They contract that out. It's all corporate contracting now. The people who record, and what happens is, you can go and pay for a transcript of the court's proceedings, and they'll just turn around and say, "Oh, we lost it," and they can get away with these excuses. No, they're lost. We don't have them anymore. So if people are going to be going into court like Dean Clifford and Winston Shrout and all these guys that go into court, I'd be very, very careful. Best not to.
Well, this is the whole thing. There's a lot of people like, as you just mentioned, Dean Clifford, and he really, really knows his stuff. But where is Dean Clifford now?
Yeah,
he's
that's
in
right.
prison.
In and out of jail. So... because they're not honourable. Dean is honourable, but they are not. So there's got to be, we must. So I like the People's Trust. I'm supporting it, because firstly, I checked their paperwork. They did perfect a superior claim. So it is a superior claim. Eventually, it will have to be recognised. But all of our groups that we're involved with are absolutely plastering the information about People's Trust all around Facebook, all around the world, on their networks. Pretty much a good portion of the population already knows. The Italians, the group of sovereigns in Italy that I'm connected with, I do a couple of weekly shows there in Italian. They are certainly, since Italy's going to vote next month, they are going to be voting for People's Trust, or they're just going to declare that they belong to People's Trust. So there's a big movement in Italy going on. All around the world, people. I do Spanish shows too. All the Latinos know about it. I've got a weekly show from Ecuador, which a lot of Latinos, even Europeans, listen to in Spanish, and they're aware of it. The whole world is opening their eyes. There are organizations and community groups off the grid that are starting off the grid. The grid's finished. It's absolutely finished.
And this is globally exploding everywhere. And this is one of the things that I like to evaluate things, as you might be able to tell. And half the things that I've done and looked into and tested out and tried, and watching this awakening and rising of people makes me wonder and question, by my own actions, am I helping to enforce the New World Order plan? Because if it's a global movement going on, and if it does get manipulated, or if it is manipulated, or even if it is orchestrated, because at the end of the day, we're all reading and researching this information, and it does sound like a good thing. Like Christianity sounds like a good thing to many, many people, so they follow it. So therefore, could it be manipulated and controlled for their agenda anyway?
Possibly. The only thing that I care about is that if a trust comes along that's, done by people who have no real agenda behind it. These are individuals that don't have, multi-million dollar investments like the Vatican families that are behind the Vatican. These are very, very rich Khazarian, Egyptian, Babylonian, Persian families. It's basically just one big family. This Saxe-Coburg-Gotha, Hanover, Habsburg thing. Where do these names come from? These are just families that have got corporations that want to protect their power over the earth. Ancient monarchies. That's it. And they have no real power, really. It's just because of the money. So what a fine way to thwart them. Someone comes along with another trust and trumps their trust. I'm good with that. If corruption comes through that new trust later on, well, then we'll have to deal with that. But nothing is good or evil altogether. And what happens is what happens. But with the awakening, rest assured that the new things implemented in the age of Aquarius will certainly be much more suited to our advancement than what has happened and transpired in the last 2,000 years. Pisces is one of those periods that we know that we have to suffer. It's the Iron Age. It's the two fish suffering under the waters. One is doubting, one is believing. This is why the motto of Pisces is I believe. Because with belief comes doubt, and that's the other fish, the mutable duality of the Piscean sign. And this is what they've done. They've used that mutable energy of Pisces to divide us, divide and conquer. This is why Christians, when they go to church, they either believe or doubt. And they get baptized in water. Pisces is a water sign.
Well, this is something I said the other day. So, sorry to butt in there, but I didn't want to go too off the subject when we're talking about light and dark. But I said something the other day, and when it came out of my mouth, it just didn't sound right. But it is. There is beauty in the dark, and there's beauty in everything. But when I come to look at it, it's anything that the power elites or the bankers, whatever they use to manipulate and control or to do for the bad, we can have a look at their techniques, their skills, their teachings or whatever, and it can be used for the good, because this is all about how they control us. Would you see it like that?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. There's still good in the system. There has to be. And this is why I said to you before, I agree with Dean Clifford and Winston Shrout and a lot of these other guys. Winston Shrout's a wonderful gentleman. He's actually perfecting claims and arrest warrants, and he promises that there will be arrest warrants of banksters and corporate criminals. They are now perfecting their system. I'll speak about that in a minute, but I just wanted to say, firstly, before I go into what Winston Shrout is actually doing, I believe that the remedy is pretty simple. There are two main negative things with the system as it stands at the moment, and they are these. First of all, we're ignorant as to how it works. If everybody was enlightened to realize what those bonds really, really were and how they steal money off you in court, etc., then the game's up. Secondly, why should the system be run in debit? Why can't we run a system in credit where everybody is in credit, which assures logically that we will have a far more peaceful, happier world? Is it possible that these controllers just want misery? Is it possible that they have to run this system so that it is goddamn frickin' miserable and not a pleasure and a delight? For me, it would be a delight if I could say, hey, I need one of those automobiles, what you call automobiles, so I can get from A to B. Here's my bond. Can I have one of them new Chevrolets, please? Because I like that model. That's how it was supposed to work. Everybody would have a house. Everybody would have the power to create their own money, which we do anyway. I mean, why do such powerful corporations as banks want our simple little scribble called a signature on their filthy, dirty, rotten papers? Why do they need that before they can proceed with their filthy, rotten schemes of implementing their dirty papers? Because it's our signature that creates money in the first place anyway. And they're just indicating to us that they need our authority and our signature because you are the one that's going to make that money anyway. So we've got that power anyway. They don't. They don't have the power. We have. So why don't we just go around buying all the stuff that we need to use, not own? We all used stuff. It's a usufructuary system in the universe anyway, and we could all have bliss. So we could quickly turn. The remedy would be that one if we wanted to hang on to the system. I think that is a possibility. But better than that would be to have communities, eco-communities off the grid.
Yeah, well, that's what I started doing a few years ago, was trying to do land claims and start communities on the land and do absolutely everything to try and be free from that system. You know what I mean? We had the people with the knowledge to deal with it legally and things like that, but it's such a struggle when you're trying to do things for other people and you're putting all this weight on your shoulder. And what I was doing at the time was trying to promote freedom, and I just saw it more as enslaving myself by promoting the freedom. So I was just like, I had to give up that little project and just move on. And all I've done ever since is move on and go onwards and upwards. But do you know much about anything like Agenda 21 and climate change?
Yeah, they are all Club of Rome inventions. All of this shit that we are subjected to. You know, this green movement. Oh, be green, be green. You know, they expect us to change our light globes to save 3 cents a year when they are spending gazillions on killing people and trashing the earth, etc., and causing us compelling us to pay for energy when it's free. Yeah, the system can't go on. It is putrid. And Agenda 21 is being stopped here in Melbourne. We have an organisation that is giving one of the local councils a lot of hell, and it looks like we are really going to this group of sovereigns are really going to smash Agenda 21 here in Australia. They're not going to get away with it. They're going to try, but they're not. There will be no Agenda 21. There will be none of this, none of that crock of shit, all that shit that they concoct in their Club of Rome meetings, because they've got nothing better to do than get together in meetings and conspire against us to work out how they can steal our monies so that they can rape more of our children and eat them and sacrifice them in their blood sacrifices. Because I've done my research and I know that the Vatican has rivers of blood flowing with little children that they eat and rape and destroy and sacrifice in their altars down there, the old Mithraic caves of the catacombs of Rome. The Pope is a frequent visitor down there, and who knows how many little children he's sucked the blood out of as a vampire. He is a vampire. The cardinals are vampires. That's why they can't but rape and eat children. That's all they do. And we know that the elites do that. We know that they sacrifice little children because of their soft particle photon energy. They don't care about sacrificing some 80-year-old hobo that they've picked up off the streets of London, which they do too. But people going missing people trafficking. Who would be organising all that? Certainly isn't me. Can't be you, Dom. I wonder who it is. It's the controllers. It always has been and always will be. They're killers, and they offer sacrifices to their evil gods, which is the system, a fictional system. It's evil and fictional, and they worship it, and they compel us to worship it with their little papers.
It's a very clever plan, like the Agenda 21 and climate change scam, because if they tell people, yeah, we have green issues on the planet and you humans are causing all this problem, and that they'll tax the air that you breathe next. Well, in fact, they are. It's called carbon tax. But the thing is, it's one huge scam. And I was noticing this a few years ago. I joined a community called Bridge Eco Village, and they were promoting all these green issues and everything like that, all to do with Grow Heathrow and transition towns. They've got their own type of currency as well coming out, and you can see it all coming. And I started questioning the people that were running this place, because when I joined it and started being involved with it, I thought it was like an activist training camp. But by the time I left, I knew that it was nothing more than an activist information gathering centre for the powers that be. And the people that were running it have ended up making a film called Crisis of Civilization. Now, this film is funded by Rothschilds, and it's also got Nafis Hamed, who's made it with Dean Puckett and Gareth Newnham. And Nafis Hamed is connected to Chatham House. So there's so much exposure, and like I've been labelling these people, or not actually, I've been questioning their motives and why they do what they do. And the thing is, it's all becoming pretty damn clear and apparent. You cannot hide a lie forever. Yeah.
Their interest is to send their agents, which are well paid, into all sovereign communities and to infiltrate them, and just to keep their people there so that they know what everybody's doing. All churches have been infiltrated. All organisations have been infiltrated. Their people run them all. Their people are in there. Rest assured that the Jehovah's Witnesses governing body will have one of their Jesuits in there, knowing what they're doing and controlling what they're doing and guiding them. The Baptists, the Mormons, all of them. That's how the system works. That's why you can't seem to break through the system. It seems like there's this wall of, mind-controlled masses that believe in this system as a god, and they believe that banks have the right to charge us interest, and governments can tax us to 50%, and they go along with all this shit because they're so stupid. They're so puny, and so diminished and disheveled, not disheveled, shriveled up in their spirits inside, that they are puny little 9-to-5ers that and then happily hand over 50% of that hard-earned money that they've worked in a factory, which pays them small money with no benefits, and then all of that factory proceedings goes to, you know, the controllers anyway. This is upside down, man. We've got the remedy in our hands, and it's consciousness awakening. That is it. Be aware of what's going on and say, no, we're going to turn it around. And we will, if we haven't already.
This is it. I do think non-compliance is the key. And it's not just about just going out there and going, fuck you, I don't want to have anything to do with your system. It's more of how to find out who you truly are. And I don't mean like, are you a postman? Are you a name or things like that? Because when we do look at it legally, and the legal definition of person is corporation, well, we know we're not a corporation. So what are we? And then if we can find out who we truly are, then we can love ourselves. And we need to love ourselves before we love anyone else. And the solution is within each one of us, not in joining a group or being part of a system or any kind of thing that's like a group will group up. Like, let's take a look at Anonymous. And Anonymous will attack anything that doesn't agree with it. Or Occupy. If you're not part of Occupy, you're against it. And it's like, well, they say they're the 99%. I will guarantee you 99% of the world hasn't heard about the Occupy movement. So they are the 1%. And in fact, they are the 1% because, as we said, George Soros funded it from the start, and all the infiltration from many different angles from government bodies. And this was worldwide. So we got about a minute left, Santos. And this has been one of my, well, probably my favourite show so far, to be honest. Is there anything else you'd like to add for the last moment?
Well, not really. I just hope people can, be encouraged and be positive about what's going on. There's nothing really totally good and totally evil. And even though there is evil things going on, but it all reverts back to the good eventually. It all will. It's undeveloped good. That's all it is. I'd just like to encourage people probably to go to my YouTube site, Mr. Astro-theology, one word, MR for Mr. Astro-theology. And there's 21 presentations there, full of all of this enlightening truth, astrology, sovereignty, etc. And do that. And I'm also going to be making a documentary soon. So hopefully in April I'll be going to Ecuador, or probably doing it from here, but be making a really good documentary on this stuff. True enlightenment, how to know yourself, who you are. We are multidimensional entities. We are much more than what we think we are. We are connected to all the stars that are out there. So why should we reduce ourselves to names on a bit of paper and let anyone walk all over us? We are what we are. We are the I am, the great I am. And let's live that way. Let's declare that. Let's first start by living it, and then everybody will follow the example, because it's the only way to live. The rest is slavery.
Santos, I couldn't thank you enough. It's been an absolutely brilliant night. If the Dark City crew said if you want to stay on, and they have a crew chat after my show, and they always invite the guests. And if you want to join in with them, please feel free to do so. This has been Dark City Radio. It's been an absolute blinder tonight. And check out Santos Bonacci. And if you can't remember Mr. Astro-theology, just Google Santos Bonacci. You'll find loads of links for him. And as always, on my YouTube channel, commonly known as Dom, you'll find podcasts, and have a look at Dark City Radio too. Thank you very much. It's been an absolute stormer.
Thanks, brother. Thank you very much.
It's a matter of importance to me that you be lucid and aware of what you're able to be. Since I was able to see the lack of limits, I've been infinite, and this is indiscriminate. Isn't narcissistic. Arson isn't always meant to be destructive. It's an art form. This is my attempt to start the fire that makes you art more and logic less, cause logic since the dollar has been off of it. I'm offering a sentence that could bring you back to sanity. Empathic but emphatically, I plan to see you mastering the art of your existence so that everyone can benefit. Then on and fractally it blossoms into everything, and mindfully we intervene, i.e. create reality. I used to hate this word, but now I know its definition, and I've learned to trust my family. I see all 7 billion, so I deem it time to DMT you all with my opinion. And I pray to my creators that just one of you will listen, cause the light and divine truth was always inside you. I'm here to remind you that you are not what confines you. You traveled through time to arrive at this line, and now you are in a vessel designed to invent and define truth. Illusion divides you, but you are the limitless vine through which everything vibes through. And I'm here to remind you that you are the light and divine truth. It's always inside you. I'm here to remind you that you are not what confines you. You traveled through time to arrive at this line, and now you are in a vessel designed to invent and define truth. Illusion divides you, but you are the limitless vine through which everything vibes through. And I'm here to remind you that you are, I am the Illuminati of my own reality. I am not afraid of those who benefit from apathy. I am not a slave to any entity or anything. My mission as a cell is reconnecting us with everything. Inevitably, everything is bound to evolve, cause that's the nature of the fractal that we're also involved with. Revolving around a nucleus that nuclearly powers us. But I've comprised of this part of me. I'm partially a particle lost. Time and space, but I'll remember when they're blasting me off. And I am everything. Free from the pendulum I may never be, but I control my darkness just enough to make a friend of it. Addendumless, my Bible is remembering the ultimate. Then every channeled verse is holy text because we come from it. And every son and daughter is my bleeding hearted counterpart. So I will find the others and remind them that we have a heart. You're part of God whenever you remember, and I'm sure now endeavoring forever on the quest of showing more how the light and divine truth was always inside you. I'm here to remind you that you are not what confines you. You traveled through time to arrive at this line, and now you are in a vessel designed to invent and define truth. Illusion divides you, but you are the limitless vine through which everything vibes through. I need only remind you that you are the light and divine truth. It's always inside you. I'm here to remind you that you are not what confines you. You traveled through time to arrive at this line, and now you are in a vessel designed to invent and define truth. Illusion divides you, but you are the limitless vine through which everything vibes through. And I'm here to remind you that you are God. I'm here to remind you that you are the light and divine truth. It's always inside you. And I'm here to remind you that you are not what confines you. You traveled through time to arrive at this line, and now you are in a vessel designed to invent and define truth. I need only remind you that you are God. I'm here to remind you that you are God. I'm only here to remind you that you are a magical turtle.